March 13th, 1962. A classified memorandum is hand-delivered to the Secretary of Defense. A document so dangerous, it was never meant to see the light of day. It wasn't drafted by a foreign enemy. It was authored by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest-ranking military commanders in the United States. The objective was simple but terrifying: manufacture a justification for war with Cuba. The proposed cost? The lives of innocent American citizens? This wasn't a theoretical exercise. It was a fully detailed operational blueprint for domestic terrorism, signed and approved. This was Operation Northwoods. To understand how the US military reached this level of desperation, we have to rewind 1 year. 1961. The Bay of Pigs. A covert CIA operation to overthrow Fidel Castro ends in catastrophic failure. The United States is humiliated on the global stage. President John F. Kennedy is furious, feeling betrayed by his own intelligence agencies. He threatens to scatter the CIA to the winds. But the generals at the Pentagon see Cuba not as a political embarrassment, but as an existential, radioactive threat just 90 miles from Florida. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Lyman Lemnitzer, believes direct, overwhelming military intervention is the only option. But he needs public support. The American public will not support an unprovoked war. They need to be pushed. They need to be attacked. Enter the Northwoods document. Page after page of meticulously planned pretexts to frame the Cuban government for horrific atrocities. Pretext number 1, the Guantanamo Bay incident. The military proposed blowing up a United States ship right in the harbor. The document coldly states, we could blow up a US ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba. We will conduct funerals for mock victims. They wanted the visual of flag-draped coffins to ignite a wave of national outrage. Pretext number 2, urban terrorism. The generals suggested detonating actual plastic explosives in major American cities: Miami, Washington, D.C. The plan was to target civilian areas, arrest fake Cuban agents, and release forged Soviet evidence to the press. The terror was designed to be deeply psychological. They wanted Americans looking over their shoulders, begging for the military to step in. Pretext number 3, the Phantom aircraft. This was the most elaborate and chilling operation proposed in the entire memorandum. The CIA would charter a civilian passenger plane filled with carefully selected agents posing as college students on a tropical vacation. Mid-flight, under the cover of radar blind spots, the passenger plane would be secretly swapped with an unmanned drone. The actual passenger plane would be secretly landed at a secure, remote US airbase. The passengers? Rerouted and given new classified identities. Meanwhile, the unmanned drone, painted with the exact same commercial airline markings, continues the flight path directly toward Cuban airspace. Once over the Caribbean, the drone would transmit a pre-recorded frantic distress signal.
Mayday! Mayday!
Mayday!
Broadcasting
Mayday.
emergency signal!
They're under attack by
Mayday,
Cuban MiG
Mayday.
fighters. Then by remote control, the US military would detonate the drone, sending it crashing into the ocean in a ball of fire. The result? An international outrage. The perfect manufactured tragedy. A clear-cut justification to launch a full-scale invasion of Cuba the very next morning. The document even suggested planting fake Soviet-made aircraft parts in the wreckage area to ensure there was absolutely no doubt who was responsible. General Lemnitzer believed this plan was brilliant. He and the Joint Chiefs signed the memorandum and proudly presented it to Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara. March 16th, 1962. A private meeting in the Oval Office. President Kennedy sits across from the military brass, reading their operational blueprint. The room is dead silent. Kennedy, already distrustful of the military after the Bay of Pigs, realizes exactly what his generals are proposing. Treason. State-sponsored terrorism against their own citizens. Kennedy flatly and categorically rejects Operation Northwoods. The meeting ends abruptly. The president is reportedly horrified. He realizes the Pentagon is operating completely off the leash. desperate for a war he's actively trying to prevent. Within months, General Lyman Lemnitzer is quietly removed from his position as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and transferred to Europe. Operation Northwoods is buried. The documents are locked away in deep storage, classified as top secret. The terrifying plan becomes a ghost. For over 30 years, the American public goes about their lives having no idea how close they came to being slaughtered by their own government. To the few who knew about it, the plan was dismissed as a bureaucratic anomaly, an insane idea that never saw the light of day, but it left a dark stain. It proved that within the highest, most classified levels of the US military-industrial complex, the lives of innocent citizens were viewed as acceptable collateral damage. Fast forward to the 1990s, the Cold War is over. The Assassination Records Review Board is formed to systematically declassify thousands of Kennedy-era documents. Deep in the government archives, an investigator pulls out a dusty, forgotten folder. It's the original Northwoods Memorandum, unseen for over 3 decades. When the document is finally released to the public in November 1997, it sends absolute shockwaves through the historical and intelligence communities. It wasn't a conspiracy theory, it was a certified, declassified fact. The United States military meticulously planned a false flag terror attack on America. The architect of Operation Northwoods was not a fringe lunatic. He was General Lyman Lemnitzer, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the ultimate establishment insider. Lemnitzer was a career military officer who viewed the world through a binary Cold War lens. Communism versus capitalism, victory versus annihilation. His mindset was shared by many in the Pentagon. They believed the only way to contain communism was through direct, aggressive, and preemptive military action. To Lemnitzer, public support wasn't something you waited for. It was a resource that had to be engineered and manipulated. His operational blueprints read like an engineering manual. The destruction of cities, the sinking of ships, the murder of civilians. It was all just acceptable input. This military bureaucratic mindset, where human lives were converted into strategic metrics, was the defining philosophy